Let's continue our journey in the exploration of different types of artificial intelligence. In particular, in this lesson, we will explore the type of artificial intelligence where the knowledge is directly acquired from data. Let's see the overview of this lesson. We will review the different types of artificial intelligence. We will define machine learning systems, what they are and their advantage and limitation. And we will go into the detail of a subset of machine learning system known as deep learning systems. Let's review the different types of artificial intelligence. We have seen in the previous lecture, there are rule-based system and expert system, which base the knowledge on the acquisition of knowledge from human. It's the human that directly put their knowledge into the computational system. There is a different type of algorithms in artificial intelligence which acquire their knowledge directly from the data used for the system. And these are machine learning systems. And the subset of this machine learning system known as deep learning system are the algorithms and modules that are actually making AI revolution possible nowadays. What's the definition of machine learning? Machine learning systems are systems that learn rules and knowledge directly from the data without being explicitly programmed. They use algorithms, a statistical model, to identify patterns from data and to make prediction, and in particular, to automate tasks. So the machine learning system, they acts in two phases. They have a training phase. This is the phase where the knowledge to solve the problem is acquired by learning a set of parameters directly from the data. There is another set of parameters in machine learning system called hyperparameters. These are the parameters that cannot be learned from the data. And this set of parameters is fit heuristically. Means that we need to try and we need to check what's the best set of parameters that we can use to fit better for the specific task. The output of a training phase is what is known as a machine learning model. After the training phase, there is an inference phase. The machine learning model is used to make prediction, to provide the output when inputs are given. The output of a machine learning model is always probabilistic, and is called a prediction. And we need to intend this prediction as a bet that we make on an event, an output where there is always a probability associated. Which are the advantages of machine learning systems? Machine learning system can automate tasks and making prediction faster than previous approach. Also, they are very scalable. We can use large amount of data and let the machine learning system learn from data of different domains. It's very easy. The process remains the same. We need to change only the input data. The ability of machine learning system to discover hidden pattern is one of the ability to make this system very popular. In effect, we humans are able to reason until 3 dimensions. Every time we have more than 3 variables, even thousands of variables, machine learning systems are the system able to discover complex and hidden patterns in the data, things that we humans are not good at it. And finally, they can make decisions in very uncertain environment. They can handle really uncertain environment and uncertainty with decision made on probability. Machine learning system can evaluate multiple possibilities and provide confidence estimates. Even if they are not sure, they can provide you an output with a probability that gives us the degree of confidence that this decision may be correct or not. Which are the limitations of machine learning system? They depend on features. Features are characteristic measures computed by the developer that represent the nature of the problem. We can compute feature based on the domain expertise of the developer for the task that we are training the machine learning system. Feature engineer, this is the process, this is the name of the process, is a manual process which depends on the developer. And this is a great limitation. This resembles what we saw in the rule-based and expert system that the human put their knowledge into the machine. Of course, as we said, there is a set of parameters of the machine learning model, which is called the hyperparameters, that cannot be learned directly from the data. We, as developer, need to intervene in this process and try to, by trial and error or to search, to understand which are the best fit parameters for the specific task. And last not least is there is overfitting and generalization. We will see this in a further lecture more in detail, but you need to understand now that machine learning system can overfit the training data, which means they can learn by memory the task and not being able to generalize, not being able to give solution to unseen data that come as input to the model. Finally, and this is very important for all the learning methodologies, is that machine learning system can learn and perpetuate bias present in the training data, leading indeed to unfair and discriminatory outcomes. As we said, there is a subset of machine learning systems called deep learning systems. Deep learning systems are, generally speaking, artificial neural networks that have multiple layers of data processing. These layers automatically learn hierarchical representation of the data without the need of feature engineering. And this is the main advantage of deep learning. We don't have to compute or create features based on the task that we are working on. There are two main considerations for deep learning system. Deep learning system, being a subset of machine learning system, they have a training phase and inference phase that produce output that the learned model will create given the inputs. And there is a second aspect, this is the architecture of deep learning system. Being deep learning system composed by different internal layers, we have the choice to aggregate these internal layers into different configurations. This is a really challenging task because the possibilities are limitless. What is good for us is that nowadays there are some specified architecture that we know they work well based on the specific application. So which are the advantages of deep learning system? Deep learning system can handle complex and unstructured data. Deep learning system actually excel at processing high-dimensional data such as audio, video, images, and text. They can learn really complicated pattern and hierarchical representation from the raw data directly. And this is what made deep learning the state-of-the-art performance in machine learning and artificial intelligence. They achieved remarkable results in various domains, including image recognition, natural language processing, and speech synthesis. And this is because deep learning systems are able to learn end-to-end. The deep learning system creates a mapping from the input and the output without the need of feature engineering, without the need of humans to put their hand in trying to understand the problem. And they make this task very efficiently based on the data that they received for their training. And last not least, one of the best benefits of deep learning system is that they can transfer the knowledge from a domain to another. And this is what is generally achieving greatest result in the modern artificial intelligence world, where big deep learning systems that have been training a huge amount of data can be fine-tuned, can learn specific tasks by using a smaller amount of data that make the deep learning system specifically capable to achieve great result for that task. Of course, there are limitations, and one of the limitations is related to the point that we just mentioned. To train a deep learning system, most of the time we need a huge amount of data. And indeed, the scarcity of data can actually lead to a system that overfits. Overfit, we remind, it means like learning by memory, not being capable to deal with slightly different input from the one that can be used in the training phase. And this actually limits the generalization capability of the system. Deep learning systems are really computational expensive. To train deep learning system properly, we need advanced hardware. We mentioned this in the first lecture, and this is one of the points that allow deep learning system to become now state-of-the-art thanks to the use of graphical processing unit, GPUs, but also other advanced architecture like TPU, the one that tensor processing unit, that one that Google are using to train their own system. And of course, one of the downside of deep learning system is interpretability. Given the fact that they have several layers from the input to the output, we lose track of the decision-making process that brings the transformation of the input into the output. Most of the time, deep learning systems are considered black box, and not everybody likes this. And another point is that, still under investigation, is that deep learning systems are susceptible to adversarial attack. What does it mean? It means that small perturbation in the input can bring to a totally different output. You can imagine you have an image, for example, that has been classified, for example, as a panda bear. There are experiments that show that modifying some particular pixel that are not perceivable from the human eyes bring the output to be characterized as a totally different output. Deep learning systems perpetuate bias that are present in training data, leading to unfair and discriminatory outcomes. To summarize the lecture of today, we have learned that machine learning system learns rule and knowledge directly from data without being explicitly programmed. They go into a training phase and inference phase, and these are the two phases of the machine learning process. Deep learning systems are machine learning systems with many layers. They automatically learn representation of the data. Finally, one of the main concerns of the system is that machine learning system and deep learning system in particular can recreate bias that are present in the data used for training.